and welcome to our channel, the best place for all things sewing. I'm Amanda, and today we're going to make the Riviera Raglan, a very beginner-friendly pattern and a good place to get started if you're new to sewing. Don't forget to like and subscribe so you don't miss any of our videos. Hopefully you've already tackled the Portlander pants and the Dublin dolman along with me, but if not, don't forget to check them out here. The sleeves are attached with straight lines on both the front and the back instead of curves, so it's a great, easy, beginner-friendly pattern. First, the Riviera Raglan has tons of options, and we're definitely not going to go over all of them today. There's so many different necklines. There's a Henley neckline, a hooded neckline, a V-neck neckline, a crew neckline, a neckline with a slit, and a neckline with a triangle feature. There's also standard cut raglan and a higher cut raglan that's at a steeper angle. There's a tunic length that has a curved hem. There's a banded hem option, and there's the shirt length option. We also have a tank option, a short sleeve, a 3/4 sleeve, and a long sleeve. There's also a thumb hole option and a banded cuffed option at the sleeve. There's too many options for us to go over today. Today I'm going to make a very simple version. I'm going to make a shirt length, and I'm going to use a crew neck and a 3/4 sleeve, as well as the standard cut of the raglan. Don't forget, if you're getting value from our videos, hit that like and subscribe button now. Next up, every sewing project is make it or break it when you choose your fabric. So let's go over some fabrics that would work well for the Riviera Raglan. It's pretty forgiving. If you use a heavier fabric, it'll just be a thicker hoodie kind of feel. If you use a thinner fabric, it's a more lightweight shirt. But here's some of my favorite fabrics to use for the Riviera Raglan. You could use an athletic knit, and then it would be a good layer if it's colder out for working out or just for feeling sporty. You could use a sweater knit. And a sweater knit is normally a looser weave, but it'd be a great, like, just having it as a sweater. One side note, if you do use a sweater knit, the pattern itself only calls for 35% stretch for the actual shirt and sleeves, but when you're making the neckband, you want to have at least 50% stretch fabric that has decent recovery, and you might not want to use sweater knit for your neckband. Some other fabrics you can choose, ITY would be a nice loose feeling option. It'd be really great for the handkerchief hem option, which kind of flows out to the sides a little. Another loose fabric that would be good for the handkerchief hem or any of the options would be a bamboo jersey. It has great drape. Rayon spandex is another lightweight drapey fabric that would be good for the handkerchief hem or any of the options. You could use a French terry fabric that has loops on the back side. It'd be a little bit thicker. It'd be great for the hooded option or just the standard option, more of a sweater feel to it. Another great option is double brush polyester. It's really soft, really nice feeling against your skin. It'd be great for any of the options. I'll be using cotton lycra for my version. It's a very basic, easy to find fabric. It's really easy to work with. Okay, let's get cutting. Let's go over what you're gonna need to make this pattern. You're gonna need your fabric. I'm going to use different fabric for the sleeves and for the shirt itself. The pattern pieces you're gonna need. I'm gonna use the sleeve piece. Now on the sleeve piece, it can be kind of tricky because there's lots of different cut lines. So since I'm doing the standard raglan, I went ahead and cut on the standard raglan line. There's a little tiny notch at the top that you won't need, that's part of the high cut raglan, which is labeled. And there's a tank cut line as well, that's below, and we don't need that to cut that line for today. I went ahead and cut on the 3/4 sleeve line at the bottom as well. And there's these little triangles that stick out to the side. You do need those because those make it easier to hem later on. You'll need the front bodice piece next. This is another tricky pattern piece because it has lots of different options on it. So I'm using the crew neck cut line, so I used this one here. It was in between the crew neck. The hoodie one was right above it, and then there's also the V-neck below, and I don't need to cut the slit today. And I used the standard raglan cut line for the arm side. You can see it's curved a little bit, but it's still much more of a straight line than a set-in sleeve would be. There's also the high cut raglan cut line that I went ahead and cut off. For the bottom of the shirt, I cut it at the shirt length as opposed to the bottom band or the tunic that goes below. There's also the handkerchief hem option that I cut off because I didn't need that for today. Next, you'll need The back bodice, that piece is pretty straightforward. I did cut on the shirt length. And then I need the crew neck binding. So there are 5 pattern pieces we need. So there's 4 pattern pieces we'll need. We'll have 5 pieces when we actually cut it out because we're gonna cut 2 sleeves. You also will need pins or clips. I'm gonna use clips today. Something to cut with. I'm gonna use rotary cutter and a cutting mat, but you could use scissors if that's what you're more comfortable with. And it's a good idea to have an iron. Okay, let's start cutting out. I'm gonna start with my front and back bodice. I'm gonna use a solid colored fabric for that. The front and the back bodice are both cut on the fold. I'm going to cut out my front bodice piece. I'm gonna make sure I match the fold of the fabric with the fold marked on the pattern piece. I'm also gonna make sure that I match the grain line. The grain line goes perpendicular to the stretch of the fabric. So my stretch of my fabric is stretchier this way than it is this way. The selvage of the fabric, the factory edge, will be parallel with your fold. The cut edge will be on either side. I forgot to mention, there is on the shirt length cut line, there is another one of those little notch triangles at the very bottom to help you with the hem, just like on the shirt pieces. When you cut out your front bodice piece, there's one little extra thing to take note of. There is a little notch marked on the arm piece. And you can see it's one little triangle. So you can mark that little triangle with chalk or a marking pen on both sides. What this will do is will help you match up the front sleeve to the front bodice and the back sleeve to the back bodice later on. Next, let's cut the back bodice piece. The back bodice piece is cut on the fold as well. Make sure you line it up with the fold of the fabric, with the stretch of the fabric going across the garment. A little extra something I like to do when I'm cutting out the back bodice that's cut on the fold, while it's perfectly on the fold, I like to go ahead and mark with a tiny little triangle to show where the center back is for later on when I'm putting the neckband on. The back bodice piece has 2 triangles to mark. 2 notches means back in pattern design. 1 notch always means front. So we go ahead and mark the 2 notches. You can either use chalk or a marking pen. I like to mark just inside the seam allowance with a little tiny snip, 2 little notches. Make sure you don't go past the seam allowance. By the way, don't forget, all pattern niche patterns have a 3/8 inch seam allowance included in the pattern, so you don't have to worry about adding your own seam allowance. Next up, I'm gonna cut my neckband out because I wanna go ahead and have my neckband be in a solid fabric as well. The neckband, it's very important you use fabric with 50% stretch at least, and it should have good recovery too, so it doesn't sag as you wear it. To help me cut neckbands, I like to use a ruler to help me get those straight lines. Next up, the sleeves. The sleeves are cut on the fold as well, but not because they are cut with a folded edge like our front and back bodice, but so that we have mirror images of the sleeves. You could cut them flat on your fabric if you're trying to Tetris your fabric pieces or make use of a smaller piece of fabric, but do remember that you need to cut mirror images. So flip that pattern piece over before you cut the second piece. So when you cut your sleeve piece, you'll have your fabric folded over, so you end up with 2 mirror images. Also, make sure that you have your grain line in place. The bottom of the sleeve, the hem of the sleeve should be matching with the cut edge of the fabric, and the stretch should be going across the sleeve piece. So in this pattern piece, you might notice that there's 2 notches. There's 1 notch marked on one side and 2 notches marked on the other side. Go ahead and either mark with your chalk or by cutting a small snip, 1 notch on one side and 2 notches on the other side. So it's easier for you to remember which piece matches to which piece. Okay, so if all goes well, you should have a back bodice piece, a front bodice piece, 2 sleeve pieces, and a neckband. If you didn't label your pieces very well in the beginning and you forget which one's which, the back bodice piece comes up higher than the front on the neckline. Also, the back sleeve is longer than the front sleeve. So the back sleeve is a little bit of a longer line than the front sleeve. Next up, we're gonna go ahead and sew it together. Don't forget as you sew that you wanna use a stretch stitch on your machine. You can either use a zigzag or a lightning bolt stitch, or you can use a serger if you have one available. Don't forget to check out what we have linked in the description below. So first step, unfold your back bodice piece, find your sleeves, and match up those back sides with the 2 notches or the longer edge. Match up the back on each side and clip them in place. I like to match the top and the bottom first and then worry about the middle. So we match one sleeve on one side and match the other sleeve on the other side. Don't forget to match them right sides together. With solid fabrics, it can be hard to tell, but most knit fabrics, when you stretch them a little bit, they'll curl to the right side. So now we've attached the back sleeves on both back seams. So now we need to attach the front. So lay your front piece right side up and find those front arm curves. Turn what you've already sewn right sides down and match your front arm seams and sew those up. So now you should have both your front and your back attached to the sleeves. Next, we're going to put in our neckband. So take your neckband piece and sew it, fold it in half, right sides together, and match up those short ends, and we're gonna sew along the short ends. Now that we've sewn the short ends of our neckband, we'll have a tube of fabric. Before we attach it, it's a good idea to give it a quick press. You'll fold it so that the wrong sides are enclosed and we're matching up that long edge. So fold and match the long edge all the way around and give it a quick press. Now that I've given the neckband a quick press, go ahead and find the opposite side of your seam, and that will be the center front. Mark that with a pin or a clip. Then we're gonna quarter it, which means we're gonna match up the front and the back with each other and find the opposite folds. So we've taken our neckband and divided it into 4 equal parts. Now we're gonna match our neckband to the opening on our shirt. Don't forget, we wanna have that seam in the center back, not the center front. So let's make sure we know which one's the back and the front. The easiest way to do it is to match up the bottom hem of your shirt, and then the lower part will be the front and the higher part will be the back. The back also is narrower across than the front is. So find the center back with your shirt wrong side out. So find the center back of your shirt and match the center back seam to the center back. Next, match the center front. We have a great video on bands and bindings. Don't forget to check it out. Now that we've matched the front and the back of our neckband, I like to stretch it. Now we're gonna find the quarter points on our shirt. So match the front and the back shirt points together and pull out to find the center between them. It'll be partway on your sleeve. It's more towards the front of the shirt. And match the quarter point of your neckband with that and do the same on the other side. So now our neckband quarter points are matched up with our shirt quarter points. Remember, your neckband's gonna be smaller than your shirt, so it does have to stretch to fit. After we've matched those quarter points, you can stretch in between to put a few more pins and clips if you need. Also, I like to press the seams of the sleeves towards the bodice and away from the sleeve. Now you should have your neckband attached to your shirt. This is what it looks like from the outside, with the center back seam on the center back of the shirt. It's a good idea to give it a quick press because as we're stretching the fabric to do that, things can kind of look out of place. Go ahead and press the seam of your neckband towards the shirt and away from the neckband itself. Here's a little extra tip before we do the next step of the pattern. Go ahead and press the sleeves up 5/8 of an inch now while they're flat. You It's a little bit easier than when it's already sewed up. Go ahead and unfold the hem if you just pressed it, because when you attach, you don't want it to be folded enough. Our next step is to go ahead and sew up the sides of our shirt. So take your shirt and match up the front and the back bodice. If you used all one color, it's easy to make a mistake here and accidentally sew it the wrong way. So your arms or your front bodice and back bodice pieces, ask me how I know. But make sure that you match your front bodice to your back bodice and your sleeves to themselves for this next step. If you pressed a memory hem, go ahead and unfold it and match, starting at the bottom of the sleeve, match the underarm seam. I like to press both of these towards the bodice, but you could nest them if you'd rather. And you can put some pins and clips in between there. And then our other critical point is to match the bottom of the shirt hem. And then add as many pins or clips as you need in between to hold it in place. We'll sew up both sides of our shirt, just like that. Now you should have both sides of your shirt sewn up, and we can go ahead and turn it right side out. And basically our shirt is pretty much done. The last step is to go ahead and hem it. So for your sleeves, you've already hopefully had a memory hem there, and so you'll just refold that pressed section and hem with a stretch stitch. For the bottom of the shirt, I like to press those seams towards the back bodice and then go ahead and fold up your 5/8 inch hem all the way around the bottom and press it in place and hem that as well. If you sewed along with us, don't forget to share your finished shirts in our Facebook group or on Instagram. Tag us and let us know how it worked out for you. What version of Riviera Raglan will you make? Thanks so much for watching. We'll see you next time.